Right. All right, let's go live here, folks. I'm here in downtown Orlando, as you can see out my window. Okay, we'll give you guys a few seconds to join us, but there's some interesting things we're going to talk about today. Some things that can really help your financial life, okay? Very important stuff because, family, health, and wealth, most important things that we could all live for. And, of course, in this time, a lot of things will be challenged. Our health, our wealth, sickness of loved ones. So let's just discuss real quick what's going on. All right, why is the market going down? And I'm going to tell you because here's my belief. And I put on the title here to mark your calendar. And I think I may be locked up here. I don't know. Okay. We're in a recession. I think the recession started on Sunday. And I know you can't really pinpoint the day. It sounds craziness. But in my opinion, I started seeing it over the weekend and the mass hysteria. And the layoffs started on Sunday. The holding onto the purse strings started on Sunday. And this recession, it's going to go down in history as it didn't start out as an economic problem because fiscally we were doing okay. We were chugging along at a great GDP. And I'm not sure this is working. Well, let's just see here. Well, we'll give it a shot anyway. So GDP was chugging along at plus 2%, a little higher than that. And then we had this, I love this term, exogenous shock that basically is going to trash the economy. And the mass hysteria, and I'm going to say this is going to be a media-driven recession. And the reason I say this is that in my business, all right, I manage money for a living. And I have a lot of doctor clients. I mean, I have dozens of doctor clients. And not one of my doctor clients are concerned about this virus. In fact, I've heard terms like, it's ridiculous. I hear that a lot. This is ridiculous. I've heard it's a joke. These are medical professionals. And yes, it's serious, and it is certainly serious. They acknowledge it is serious to the elderly and the elderly who have immune system deficiencies. So, yes, that is a problem. And yes, the spread of it. But the media has pushed the politicians to do, again, this is an exogenous shock to the system. Great. And this is what's going to cause people getting layoffs, business bankruptcies. It's going to cause business closures. The good news is I saw the president yesterday say they're going to help the airline industry, and he made it very clear it's not their fault. It's not that the airline was spending too much and that they were fiscally irresponsible. In this case, this recession is really nobody's fault. But I believe the recession started. Now, we won't know this for 2 quarters because the definition of recession is 2 negative quarters of GDP. But rest assured, first quarter may not be negative yet because we were chugging along at almost 3% growth. But the month of March has totally destroyed those numbers. We may be 0 growth for the first quarter, maybe slightly negative. Certainly Q2 is going to be negative, Q3 likely to be negative, and this should hopefully all work out by the end. Now, where does the stock market come into play? Well, the stock market is a discounting mechanism, and it usually runs about 6 months ahead of the economy. So what we're seeing here in the stock market, which are really, really close to probably some climactic low. I talked about the second swoosh down. We saw that. But we're probably close to some climactic low. We'll probably see some kind of fiscal policy that come in. We already saw the Fed cut rates, but some other things to help small businesses and medium-sized businesses. So the key is that the stock market is 6 months ahead of time. So I believe that if the stock market's getting some semblance of a low, the economy will hit some semblance of a low 6 months from now. That's basically how it works. Now, what I want to show you is a couple things. I want to show you the importance of staying invested. Okay. Why isn't that? Okay, here we go. The importance of staying invested, not trying to time the market. And here's why. It's a really, really, really powerful slide. I'm going to make some changes here. Let's kind of, okay. This is basically a chart of the growth of $10,000 invested in the S&P 500 on December 31st, 1979 through December 31st, 2019. Okay, so 50 years. If you were fully invested that whole time, every one of those days, your $10,000 grew to $867,000. If, because you decided you wanted to trade the market, you missed the best 5 days, you missed the best 5 days of the market, that 10,000 only grew to 561. If you missed the best 10 days, that's only 10 days of 50 years, 418,000. You missed the best 30 days, 164,000. And if you missed the best 50 days, your 10,000 only grew to 75,000. That's how important it is to have a plan, to stay invested, especially if you're a long-term investor. Now, I like to look at this chart, which is pretty interesting. And I just want you to focus on these numbers. Now, these are performances after the worst 1 days of the market. And this is not current, up to date from yesterday, of course, but this is in the past. Of course, Black Monday, October 19th, 1987, the 1 day return, the market dropped 20% in 1 day. 1 year later, we're up 23%. 3 years later, we're averaging, this is annualized, 11%. 5 years later, 13% annualized. October 15th, 2008, market dropped 9%. 1 year later, the market was up 20%. 2008 also, down 9% in a day. 1 year later, up 35%. So what that tells me is the market does have the juice to recover, okay? And we'll see what happens, and certainly whether I agree with what's going on or not doesn't matter. Rip the Band-Aid off. Let's get that curve of the disease slowed. I think that's the problem. We need to slow down the spread of it. Just use your common sense. Try and stay out of crowds. Try and stay. And of course, I feel really interesting that people have to tell you to wash your hands. If that's the case, that's crazy. I don't get this. Social distancing? You got to be kidding me. It had to be a millennial that came up with that term. Anyway, look, the economy, again, this is not a fiscal problem, but I believe we are in a recession now. It wasn't a fiscal problem. It is now. Last month, we had 273,000 jobs we created in this economy. Not going to happen next month, so we'll see there. But it's fear and greed, folks, and that's what scares you. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be doing a session. We're going to talk about some of these things in more of a long-form format, starting at 7 o'clock. I'll go live. You'll be able to call in, ask some questions. You'll be able to write in some questions via email, and let's talk about your portfolios. Let's talk about some buy, sell, or hold, whatever you can be doing, some opportunity out there. We'll do this in a long-term format. It'll be, I'm scheduling for an hour, but if we can probably knock it out in a half hour. So join us tomorrow, Facebook Live at 7 p.m. right here. I'm Lee Seiler, the Stock Doctor. Thanks for joining us. Share this video if you think it's informative, even if you don't think it's informative. Well, if you don't, you already have the coronavirus probably.